What's up, beautiful people? Some nice shakuhachi in the background. It's your girl, it's Leanne. We're getting blissed out again here with a new series with musicians that we're expanding with, and this is going to be music friends, um, collaborations with great musicians in the community. Shakuhachi is a flute that I have been a huge fan from the last 25 years. It's been a flute that has been calling my soul as a woman of Zen and finding the right people. And I just recently listened to my gut in a spontaneous moment of life and all the best of his teachings through this amazing times of learning and growing, and reached out to Alcvin Ramos, who's on the other side of the screen right now, sharing with us his time, his dedication to the practice, and an opportunity for all of us to learn a little bit more about this amazing history of this flute, the art, and how it's touched his life and how it's touching others. And welcome to the show, Alcvin. How are you?
Yeah, and I'm doing great. Thank you very much for having me and allowing me to share my some of my gifts with the community.
Thank you so much. So, Alcvin, tell us a little bit about where you're from and how did your journey with this music all start?
Okay, my I'm from Bamboo. I always say because in an ancient, my ancestors are from the Philippines, and one of the Filipino creation stories, and there's many, is one of them is that the first man and woman came from a bamboo nodes. So there's a story of this bird that's flying between the earth and the sea and the sky when there was only that in existence. And he did a communicate. There was a communication between earth, sea, and sky, and so they were uh, at one point there was a when the bird was tired of communicating between these two uh, uh, sea and sky, then bamboo came up on a beach, and this bird, which is a hawk of some sort, a bird of prey, knocked on the bamboo, and from that bamboo, this is a bamboo, two nodes emerged the first man and the woman. So that's one of the creation stories of my ancestors. And so I say I'm from bamboo, and my whole life is based. Most of my life is guided by this beautiful plant. So my parents are from the Philippines. I was born in Japan, and Japan is a very deep history with bamboo itself, and has a great meaning in their culture. It's the most widely used plant in most of the world, in Asia and particularly Japan. Great reverence for this plant, and of course shakuhachi. It's the material and root of the shakuhachi flute, which I have dedicated to learning about in my life. So that's where I'm from, basically. But I live on the Sunshine Coast of BC here. Yeah, and I grew up in the States, but through bamboo, went back to Japan through shakuhachi studies. Um, I was brought to Canada after my initial introduction to shakuhachi and my foundation and learning, and I was brought to Canada in this beautiful part of the Sunshine Coast, and now it's where I live and work. So that's where,
Mm.
in a nutshell.
It's so powerful.
Yes.
Well, what I really honor that part of your story of, you know, the coming of existence and the power of that and all knowing. Like I love how you approached, your awareness and the gratitude to this vessel, this bamboo vessel. And then the ability of your journey with music. Did that start at a very young age, or how did it all start?
Yeah, my first, I was singing when I was real small, and my first actual instrument was in Western tradition, was piano when I was around 8 or 9, and I got bored of a lot of people have bad experiences with their piano teacher back in the day, and I was one of them. And so that was my first Western instrument, and then I got interested in winds, which the first one was the trumpet, and so I really liked the sound of jazz trumpet back when I was in eighth grade, and so I
Mm.
started practicing that, but it wasn't very deep. It was just just in the band, and then after I stopped playing that, I got interested when I was 16 in guitar music. Um, and so that was my introduction to actual instrumentation. And then when I was around 17, end of high school, I saw a movie called Ran, which is directed by the famous Japanese director Akira Kurosawa.
Mm.
And in that movie, there was a scene of the prince. It's an adaptation of King Lear's Shakespeare's King Lear in Japanese feudalistic times. It's incredible. If you haven't seen it yet, just check it out. But there's a
Mm.
scene in the end of the movie where the blind prince played this beautiful horizontal flute called the shinobue,
Mm.
and sound pierced my consciousness, and I felt it like penetrate through my third eye or something like that, and it shook my whole being. And it was those tones, that scale, and the way he's playing with texture and tone color, and which is different approach than Western music that I experienced before. And the of course the context of the whole story, which just blew me away. So I went to the library and I did research on Japanese flutes, and I found the shinobue, the side blown flute, and next to that was shakuhachi, and I read all about it, the connection to samurai and Zen, and
Mm.
then I actually saw this big flute that these monks with basket hats were playing, and I'm like, that's crazy. I want to learn this. And
Huh?
so that's what sparked it. And from then on, at that time, I was living in Southern California. I grew up in near Los Angeles, and but I had no connection to that world of Japanese music called Hogaku, and traditional Japanese music was the farthest in my anywhere in my experience at that time. So I made it a point. I want to go to Japan, and so I made strives to learn the language. Start learning language. I took Aikido class, Japanese martial arts classes,
Mm.
and then learning as much about Japanese culture as I could. Tea ceremony, buto dance, everything I could through
Wow.
books and then through films, and then
Wow.
I went in university. I studied Japanese religion, and then that was my introduction actually to Buddha Dharma when I took my religious studies classes, and that was huge too in my experience,
Mm.
being introduced to the concepts, being raised as a Catholic,
Mm-hmm.
and I got interested in Buddhism when I was in high school, but it wasn't until I heard the actual Buddha Dharma being spoken by someone with experience,
Mm.
and then being in that flow, that atmosphere of people who are in similar mode of existence, who are interested in Buddha Dharma, and being and then doing meditation,
Mm.
that was it. And then so uh, I I was also practicing martial arts heavily at that time too, Aikido, and that's a great art form if you want to get into Japanese culture too. But after university, before I graduated, I found a program which allowed me to go to Japan and work and make money, and then I could learn shakuhachi. So
Wow.
that was it. I got I was accepted into what's called the Japan Exchange and Teaching Program, the JET program, and yeah,
That was what, 19? 19 years old or what?
I was 1992. I was like 20,
Mm.
21, 22. So right after university, I got in, and that was my start. I took my first month in Japan, found my first shakuhachi teacher, and then that's where everything was like, this is it. And then it took me a few years for me to actually think, to believe that I could actually make this as a living, because
Mm,
it's a very difficult instrument.
mm,
It's the most difficult wind instrument to
mm,
master in the world.
mm.
So, and it's very very there's a lot of esoteric stuff and cryptic techniques, that you must learn, and the whole system. And if you want to get it if you really want to get the core of it and sound, it takes a lot of training. And so
A
yeah,
lot of inner
I
work too.
spent 3 years.
Would you say a lot of inner work?
Sorry.
It sounds like you've got a combination of both. You got your inner work, and then you have shakuhachi training. I feel like what I'm hearing, what I'm feeling out is that there's both there in the alignment.
Yes, so it's interesting, and Japan is a fascinating country, because it's such a there's the tension between east and west is very very strong there, because of the history, right, of the Americans in there, and westernization. Fascinating. But uh, I have to say, the inner work is quite uh, minimal in the shakuhachi world today. So if we talk about inner work, meaning the spirituality of the shakuhachi, the connection with nature, the connection with the universe, this is it's just starting to get more. It's an old uh, system philosophy that has been reduced and siphoned out with the coming of westernization in Japan. And so, with the 60s, in the history of Zen coming into the West, it's interesting that the cycle of the spirituality is getting recycled, and it's actually growing uh, stronger in the West than in Japan, because most people in Japan, they see it at more on the external. It's just a like just music, so to speak, and just an activity to pass the time, So a lot of retired folks do it as a hobby, right? So, and a lot of Japanese today, they look at the shakuhachi as kind of an antiquated activity, and they kind of look down on that in a way. But because so many more Westerners are getting into it, they're looking at it and like, oh, our tradition is those Westerners are doing really great. So it's funny. That happens a lot I see that kind of phenomenon in a lot of traditional art forms, like in India, and in China. It's a common experience,
Well,
but it's
the
great. But
commonality of, is it the more or less the commonality of the evolution of change and growth, right? Because I feel even getting to know you and
yes,
hearing from you and then hearing this part of the story, I mean, you have your old way of seeing shakuhachi, and maybe there's some new approaches. You're having new approaches to your concepts,
yes,
or maybe you can
oh
share a little bit
yes,
about that
definitely.
and tell us a little bit more about you and shakuhachi and like the old work that you've done. I know you got a ton of stuff on
Yeah,
YouTube. You got a ton of really beautiful, peaceful content. I was just tapping into a bunch of it, some of your old work, and
yeah.
then getting to know you now. I can feel you're growing. Obviously, we're all going through an evolution and ascension, right? Tell us a little bit about both.
Okay, so my score is honkyoku, which is the Zen music of of uh, of the shakuhachi.
Okay.
And so that's my old, like, for example, my older stuff uh, is based on that. And but it's, in a way, it has is not changed, because that's my core. And the compositions that I do now, of course, have evolved, but they still have the core honkyoku. That's where I come from. But being in the West now for the last 30 years doing shakuhachi, I've been influenced a lot by Western concepts of music and spirituality. There's a great Western um, synthesizer musician, one of my great favorites, Vangelis. He composed, like, Chariots of Fire and stuff, but he has a wonderful philosophy that's actually an ancient Greek uh, philosophy of music that he says that music precedes sound, and that blew me away. And that music gives life to mathematics and
Mm-hmm.
science.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's beautiful, and very that's shakuhachi,
Mm.
and I realized that because that connection to nature, which Vangelis really, really, really embraces. The approach, of course, is different because he uses pure like synthesizer and technology, but that connection to nature, he listens to sound so deeply, and when you listen to him explaining to his in his childhood about listening to the ocean and the wind and stuff, and it's exactly what shakuhachi is all about. If you do
Mm.
not have the connection to natural sound, natural environment, your shakuhachi is dead. It's like not real. And so
Mm.
that's one of the key things that is the same as from what I, but it's new now, you know. And so I'm always these concepts are old and ancient, but they're so new every time I think about them, and every time I create something new, you know. But yeah, but now I incorporate a lot because shakuhachi music is modal. It's not harmonic,
Mm-hmm.
if you understand that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so Western music is based on like progressions of harmonic progressions going up. You know,
Mm-hmm.
modal music, which is a lot of Asian, Indian, and Japanese music, is it's more horizontal. It's more modal, and so they
Mm.
use a certain scale, and they stay within that boundary.
Mm.
And so, but my music now it incorporates a bit of both, right?
Mm.
But yeah, so harmonies and of course, but still, you know, strong to the. But I use I'm embracing a lot more of the sound and stuff, which is are the ambient sound, the sounds of nature too. I'm embracing a lot more of that. So um, yeah, so that
Sounds
answered.
sounds like you're becoming that vessel, that wonderful vessel. Myself, like reflecting you and just kind of feeling out how shakuhachi played a role coming into my life when I was 19, and I went through an
Mhm.
awakening in that time too. So we all talk about consciousness, and we talk about, you know, Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism opened their doors to me at that time too. And born Catholic, we have something in common, is like, you know, the retraining of the
Mhm.
subconscious and being available when something so profoundly purchases your heart and it purchases your whole being, and then you're like, oh, now I'm going on this journey with consciousness, right? Shakuhachi was
Mhm.
like was my gateway also, because it went from yoga into experiencing sound therapy, and then,
Mhm.
you know, my deeper shift of my whole body, losing weight, and then the rebuilding of the constant growth, and then sound therapy, how it always played a role. But the same pinpoint of like how it hit your third eye of watching that movie, and I can relate to that, and that's why I believe it's such a therapeutic healing tool that the world needs more of, you know. And that's kind of why I've approached you, is that within my own journey, in my own personal journey with healing, or um, recognizing, you know, methodologies that I can do for myself, but also provide service for others. This
Mhm.
is why I reached out to you. I feel like even when I heard your music, um, and for the people that are watching, you know, if you haven't heard about shakuhachi, if you haven't had the chance to take time just to be in the presence of its sound, I recommend being personally engaged. Like if it could be close to you, like when Alcvin met me recently, you know, just being in the close encounter with how that sounds in reality is so profound. And that's why I'd recommend
Mhm.
students find you. But the other aspect would be your recording aspects, you know, would be the recording also has its beauty. Everything, I mean, live is so much more profound. It's a real experience, like face to face. We have this opportunity to remind people through COVID, you know, this is another healing, beautiful tool that
Mhm.
has touched my life. And just by knowing you, Alcvin, you know, and having you as a friend on Facebook, without even knowing that we haven't even had enough interaction, and then finding you and then saying, hey, let's do this. You know, this is the
Uh,
mystery school of life. And being a woman of Zen, reflecting another man of Zen out there in the world, you know, I want to bring more of this to the community. And I think you're one of the greatest masters that I've seen the work done. And maybe you can tell us a little bit more about your travels, what you've done with your
Uh,
music.
okay, so yeah, so with my music, I've traveled all over Europe and North America, all over China and Japan. So yeah, playing with solo and then with taiko groups and with yeah. So that's but uh, so it depends on yeah what kind of group I'm with, and then but I always have my yeah my honkyoku to keep me secure in my expression of my spirit, and so yeah. So but now with internet, people all over the world can see. But I look forward to going to Italy in the next year or so, Mexico, and maybe South America, and to play more. Yeah, with when things go open up more, Korea, and yes. So yeah, I've been around.
And you take people on trips
So
too. So you got a lot of stuff. You got websites on, your teaching modalities. You got opportunities of making them. You handcraft. Tell us more
yes,
about all of your dimensions. You got so much to offer us.
yes. So in order in addition to my musical stuff, I have tours, which I take shakuhachi students that really are deeply into shakuhachi to Japan, and we do the what's called the shakuhachi roots pilgrimage every 2 years. And this year, obviously, it was because of COVID. Next year, I'm planning the next one, and we've been doing this for about 15 years, 16 years now. And what I do is and all the everybody is usually is first timers to Japan, and Japan is such a different culture than the West. Through the year or 2 year and a half, I get the students ready and teach them all about how to to do how to act in Japan so that it's more culturally smooth. And I take them uh, through the width and breadth of Japan, experiencing shakuhachi makers, master players, Zen monks. I'll go to monasteries, and of course we go to onsens, which is the beautiful outdoor baths that are just incredible. We eat, of course, with the locals and with interesting people of different uh, parts of society, and um, it's incredible. Where we go, we stay at really interesting, beautiful hotels, and then uh, inns all over Japan, traveling on the Shinkansen, on trains, and walking long distances, going to centers of Shintoism, which is the indigenous uh, uh, spirituality of Japan, Buddhist monasteries, Buddhist centers, and we do shakuhachi and we do meditation, and it's incredible, life transforming experience for about 4 weeks in November every 2 years. So that's one of my key things that I is part of my shakuhachi life. And then I also make shakuhachi too, and I have a like these are some of my flutes that I make, and so in the past I used to hold workshops every summer where we make teach people how to make shakuhachi here in my place, but recently it's yeah I don't do that anymore. So, but if people are interested in asking me about certain things, of course they're open to asking me about techniques. But yes, so I do make my shakuhachi, also shinobu, and music composition, and yes,
There's a
jewelry
lot to it though,
design.
right? There's a lot to it. So
Yes,
there's a lot to, like, even just myself going on this journey and say, hey, listen, I want to figure out more. I want to collaborate. I want to find my way. And I'm in no rush. But the beauty is the unfolding of the values and the perfect pitches and the quality versus
mm,
good and bad
or imperfect.
qualities, right?
Yeah,
And then even
yeah.
like you had this beautiful piece of the shakuhachi with the amber And so
Mm,
I think
mm,
as an
mm.
artist, I can reflect. I'm a designer myself and a painter. So yeah, beautiful piece. And
Okay.
Amber being Amber's always been such a gift. I worked with stones for the last 25 years, so I get it.
Oh,
And so I'm so
mm,
grateful for all that. There's so much I believe that we can learn together. I think, I can play a little bit of your music and I don't know how much we pick up, but if you want to play a little sound, you're more than welcome if you feel comfortable doing that, or
mhm.
we could always plan that. Did you want to do a little bit?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'll play you a little bit of um, my late one of my latest compositions that's inspired by the shakuhachi roots pilgrimage.
Yeah.
So this piece is called Kyomukaze, which
Okay.
translates as the empty wind.
Mm. Wow.
The intro.
Well, there's some beautiful passage of energy there. I really experienced it. And I felt like, the profoundest gift of my life, everything that I've done has been the gift of silence. And I really feel
Mm,
that when you play, you're gifting us with silence
wow.
in some shape and form. So I know viewers, when you watch this, anybody that has a chance to see this moment, um, I'm here to lead the community in something most profoundly that I know that I've been doing my best every day, and finding the right people and finding the right tools. Creativity, music, and wellness has been a gift in reflecting my Zen master, music, mathematics, meditation, the transformational way that we can live, and we can consciously make choices together. And this is why I want more music to come to the hearts of people in methodologies like shakuhachi, because I feel people like yourself can contribute to helping us awaken that within ourselves. And if we haven't had the chance to even find shakuhachi, then more people find you, find your music on Spotify. What do you have? Spotify, YouTube? Where are you? Share with
Mhm.
us.
iTunes, all the major platforms for music. My music's on there. iTunes, yeah, CD Baby, yeah, Spotify. You can find me pretty much anywhere on any musical platform. Yeah, just type in my name and you'll see all my CDs uh, available for people to download.
Okay,
So
well, we can put a
yeah,
link after
and
this. And I want to hold
okay.
space with so
Mm.
much gratitude for the time that we have today. But viewers, get ready for more, because I'd like to have more of all the musicians that have been in the network sharing already for the last year. We're excited to continue to have an opportunity to fill a gap with what's happening in the world and making sure that great information gets out. But the whole goal is to have Blissed Out Fest, a beautiful platform. And I'm patiently
Oh,
walking this heart to heart, moment to moment with great people. So happy that we have this opportunity to contribute to time and space. Alcvin, you're beautiful.
Oh, thank you. You are too. Yeah, I appreciate it.
And I'm excited to share more. You're wonderful. And I'm excited to hear more about Japan because all of us need to be more disciplined.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, a lot to talk about like that. Yes.
A lot of discipline there,
Yes.
but so excited. This is like the cream of the crop of actually opening up a door and getting your beautiful smile out to the community. A little bit more music. Hopefully we can hear this. The shakuhachi is quite quiet. It touches the heart. It changes your life. And we're so happy to have you. Thank
Oh,
you
thanks.
so
Oh,
much.
Leon, may I, before
Yes?
I go connect,
Yes.
can I say that on May 29th from 5 to 6:30 on the Exploration Asian Heritage Month website, www.exploreasian, EXPLORASIAN.org. May 29th from 5 to 6:30, I'll be doing, I have a performance there of shakuhachi and a collaboration with Vian. She's a gujang, koto, Japanese horizontal zither player.
Mm,
She lives
mm.
here in Vancouver. So we'll be doing a performance there as well. If you want to check that out.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
definitely we can put the link. So viewers,
Okay.
you
Okay.
had
Sorry.
the chance. We're so grateful and keep that all coming. We need all of your abundance and all your joy. You've got so much to offer the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it.
A bit more of that beautiful sound, guys. Make sure you educate yourself a little bit about shakuhachi and Alcvin. Check out the links below. Blessings of Blissed Out Network. Keep
Thank
loving,
you.
keep sharing, and get blissed
Thank
out.
you. Thank
Namaste.
you.